All right. Before we start this, we'll do two appeals tonight. The first is the continuance of 1867 from last month. And then we will hear 1868. So if you're here for 1868, you'll have to wait a minute. All right. Are you ready? All right. Very good. All right. Good evening. Today is Thursday, March 20th, 2025. This is the continuance of appeal number 1867 for the Mount Lebanon Zoning Hearing Board for the property at 148 Rock Haven Lane. Last month, we heard from both the appellant and the municipality and wanted to gather more information from community members and have done so since then. I don't know if anybody here is here to speak on this matter. You're probably here for the other matter. Very good. So we'll invite you to come up. Are we okay because we were sworn in last time, it'll be the same people, or should we swear in again?
I would just do a swear in,
Okay.
that way everybody's covered.
Yeah, very good. So if you're, for 1867, if you will stand and then be sworn in by the reporter. All right. Mr. David, if you want to come forward and address us, and then I will also go over what we have heard or what we've received separately. So go ahead.
Okay. No, I appreciate you having me back here again to talk about it. I'm Jeremy David. So I believe you've received two letters from my adjacent neighbors, correct?
Yes, and for the record, that's a letter from the neighbor at 152 Rock Haven Lane and at 144 Rock Haven Lane. Good.
Yeah. Okay. And I believe those are both, from talking to them, I believe they're both in favor. They're okay with the fence, correct? Yes?
Yes, I would agree that
They're okay.
they do not object to it, yes.
Okay, all right, very good. And then we're here just to talk about question 4, correct?
Primarily question 4, yes.
Primary question, okay. The other points, just kind of touching a little bit what we talked about last time, 811, there was no, I call it 811, there was no anything laid down in that easement that was in the lower part of that lot. I know that was an area we were wondering about. No flags, nothing was put down there. And then the other point I wanted to make, I'm not sure who brought it up, but the question was asked, why don't your other neighbors have this problem, right? So Pam and Nori actually, I can't believe I forgot to mention this, they put 8 feet of fill on their side, which came from the ice castle years ago. So they have an 8-foot, which will be shown here on the pictures. They have 8 feet that elevates them above that public sidewalk back there. And then they have bushes that are acting as a barrier there to let no one else come in.
So it's an 8-foot berm in effect.
Is that what it's called, berm, or?
Right at the sidewalk? Is that?
Just say like 8-foot incline. I don't know what a berm is. Yes.
I'm sorry, Pam and Nori, are they the ones with the sports court or the one on the other side?
The other side, yeah. So
Thank you.
they have a sports court on one side, and then they have 8 feet of fill on the other side, which kind of funnels people that way. Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about those, and then I guess let's talk about question 4. So the 3 parts of that question, I fear we just kind of break it down. And at first, we could talk about kind of the essential character of the neighborhood part. We mentioned that it's a black aluminum fence. It's very aesthetically pleasing. There are shrubbery that will most likely eventually maybe block that majority of that fence. And frankly, if it was put where the Mount Lebanon ordinances allow, it would probably be more out in the open. I think people will probably see it probably a little more of an eyesore than anything if it was there out in the middle of the yard, as opposed to where we're proposing behind those shrubberies and those trees. If I could show that picture all the way at the bottom, just so I try to I put stakes in my yard. They've been there, and then I drew some lines where, just to give you guys a visual of where things would be. So if we're able to throw, are you able to see it over there?
I can see, can you see that? It's,
So the red,
But that's all right, yeah, go ahead.
oh, there it is.
oh, okay, up here too.
So the red part there is generally where the one is proposed right now. And as you can see, and I have better pictures here, this is probably about a 20-foot hill. So like we talked about last time, it would basically, it would really hinder use of the yard, having it put straight through there. So that's why the proposed is that variance there where you see behind the trees, encompassing the trees, which are a safety issue, and putting it in between those two trees there. Any questions on that at all?
And the red line represents,
Where the Mount Lebanon ordinances allow it at the moment. Yeah. Basically leaving that entire 35 feet of land for people then to do what they've been doing over, trespassing in the yard and whatnot. But we do need to go through all that again. Yeah, go ahead.
To the left of the blue line and the trees, that's the sidewalk in between the
Yes.
street.
Yeah, so from that blue line to the sidewalk is 9 feet. And then to the road, as you can see, there's a whole lane of parking there. I know Mr. Clark was worried about people getting pushed out to Mount Lebanon. As you can see, there's plenty of space that fence won't bother anybody walking on that road. And to further, push that point there is, if you could go back to that screen, Rodney. They're not in any order. I tried to put them in order, but for some reason it won't let me. If you could click, yeah. So all the way on the left, image 7259 there. So this goes to show you where. So Pam and Norris, you can see the elevation into their lot there. And then you see that shrubbery there? That is way closer than anything I'm proposing to do. Right, that is on the sidewalk. Okay, and then if you want to go back, good, thanks Rodney. If you want to go to, right in the middle here with that statue and the brick wall photo, DJI Fly 2025. You want to go, you see the statue in that, or St. Bernard's sign, yeah, that one right there. So this is the other side of it all. Look at all that shrubbery. They have, again, more along the lines of what I have, but it's still pretty close to the sidewalk there. So that tree's got to be probably 5-6 feet from it.
Pardon me, so I do see, it looks to be a retaining wall on the neighbor's property then?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, yes. Yeah. Does that help kind of give you guys a little bit of a visual then, what we were talking about from us? Yes. Were you able to see what Pam and Norris, from that one picture, how their yard was elevated? Okay.
Yes.
I just have other ones, and not that you need to see all this stuff again, but this is a really long video. Yeah, you can keep going. There's beer cans. Someone drinking Blue Moon back there. That's just showing the 9 feet. Sorry it's so loud. I just measured the 9 feet there.
I can't hear you.
I just let them know that was just evidence of the 9 feet from the sidewalk, that's all. That's walking down. Yeah, you probably turn the sound down. It's just kind of giving you an idea of what that feels like there, and how when you're walking down this sidewalk, my fence would be the least of the worries as you walk down this sidewalk, that's all. Okay? It's probably good. Yeah, unless they want to see it all, but Any questions on those?
Mr. Conti, do you have questions?
No,
Mr. Rother?
Not at this time.
And I do not either.
Okay.
So,
So are we good with the essential character as far as the neighborhood?
yes.
Okay. The adjacent properties, I think the letters speak for themselves, with the neighbors being in support of the fence. And, yeah, I think we can, I don't think there's much more to be said about that unless there's any concerns on your parts.
No, and we'll read the letters into the record in a bit.
Very good. And then the last part of that question is the public welfare part. And I believe that, as you can see from those pictures, there's plenty of space from the sidewalk to the fence, to the yard where it's where it would like to be. And then on the public pathway, there's even more room to go. It's not anywhere near, it's probably even greater than 9 feet on the, because there's a whole cliff that's along the stairs as you climb up that. So there's plenty of room there. They won't even see the fence at all. And then, to be honest, I was thinking about the question, and I think this is kind of why you had me back here. I think it'd be more detrimental to the public to be on that property. Reason being, there are gopher holes that I've been trying to fill. We spray that property with the True Green stuff, and people don't know about that. There's large rocks on that hillside. It's called Rock Haven for a reason. There are large rocks in there that will never be able to be taken out. And so, you know, if someone who's climbing trees like we talked about, I think it's more of a detrimental to the public, and I think that's why I'm here and presenting it to you today, because it is more of a liability because it is. So that's my best answer for that. Okay?
Okay.
I think I've touched on what I want to say. But I'll kind of open up some questions.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so we did see the two letters from your direct neighbors. Were you able to talk to anybody else outside of the two immediate neighbors?
I've talked to the rest of my neighborhood that have gotten those letters that were sent out. I believe everybody within 200 feet or 200 yards of my, correct me if I'm wrong, of my house have gotten letters. They all know about it, and there was a sign in my yard, and I think if anybody cared about it, they'd be here tonight. Most of them are in support of it. They've seen what I've gone through. Did I want to bug every single one of them to send me a letter? No, I'm not going to do that. I think their lack of presence here, you know, basically states that they're in support of the fence.
You said you put a sign in your yard. Was that to let people know what your intention was?
That was done by the township.
Okay.
Yeah, that was there for a whole week in the yard. I think it was also sent out in the papers, put in the paper, and like I said, all the people within 200 feet of me, 200 yards of me, what is it, 200 feet?
200 feet.
200 feet of me.
So we send out a letter to any resident within 200 feet of the property
They're
to
well
advise
aware.
them of the hearing.
No further questions for me.
All right, let's, Mr. Conti or Mr. Rother, do you have questions for Mr. Sharber?
no.
No, not at this time.
All right, very good. I'm going to go ahead and just read the letters that we received into the record, and then we will continue. First letter from Pamela Livingston, Livingston, 144 Rockhaven Lane, dated Sunday, March 16th. Mount Lebanon Zoning Board, a few weeks ago, we discussed with Jeremy David his planned installation of a fence on his property at 148 Rockhaven Lane. He assured us then and later in writing, 1, that his fence would be installed inside the line on his side of our shared property line. 2, that the fence would follow the existing land contours from Mount Lebanon Boulevard on his property. 3, that when the fence reached a point opposite the rear of his house, the fence would turn at a right angle towards the rear of his house. 4, that the fence would close at the right rear corner of his house. We do not think the fence, as explained to us and as described above, will impact our property. And signed, Noretta, Noretta, Willig, Willig. That's letter 1. Letter 2, from Imad and Catherine Naja. It's IMAD. Catherine, CATHERINE, Naja, NAJA, 152 Rockhaven Lane, Mount Lebanon Zoning Board. I am writing to express my support for the Davids at 148 Rockhaven Lane in their request for a fence variance. As their neighbor at 152 Rockhaven Lane, I have witnessed many acts firsthand, such as sled riding and people running their dogs off leash in their backyard. I'm familiar with the challenges presented by the frequent use of the adjacent public walkway. As a father of 7 children, I know how important it is to have a safe place for your family to play. I have no objections to the proposed fence, as it will not alter the nature of my property or the character of the neighborhood in any adverse way. I appreciate your consideration of this request and hope that the variance will be granted in support of a safer and more secure environment for the public and the David family. Please let me know if you have any further questions or concerns. And sincerely signed, the Naja family. I believe Mr. Sarver also handed a copy of the letters. So. And then, Mr. Sarver, do you want to read the response from the solicitor, or shall I read this in?
That's up to you.
All right, very good. So Mr. Sarver also had discussed with the solicitor and the commission, and so we received a letter. It says, as requested, the commission's response is as follows. Point 1, the commission did not see and did not wish to assert any public rights to use the residence yard beyond the recorded road/sidewalk rights-of-way. And point 2, beyond that, the commission did not see any reason for a variance. The ability to screen with vegetation was one factor that was especially relevant. And that was sent to us on Friday, March 14th. So reading that into the record, and I know that there is nobody else in the room. Is there anyone online? It doesn't look like. All right. Did you have any further comments?
So if I'm getting that correctly, so you able to explain the commission's comments, I guess?
The commission is always permitted to have comments on anything.
Okay. No, my last comment to you guys is, I hope, my wife was sitting here last time and she's like, you didn't say anything about our family. And I hope you understand that that's also part of it too, right? And I want to be able to protect my family too from anybody coming off of Mount Lebanon Boulevard, anybody, anything bad to happen from dogs to people to cars. I hope you understand that as a father and a soon-to-be father too, I hope that resonates with some of you guys.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Conti? Mr. Rother?
I did have one additional question. In one of the letters, your neighbor mentioned observations of off-leash dogs. Would you be able to kind of touch on that? Is that a frequent occurrence? Do you see that often?
Yeah, more so in the summertime. He himself, I guess, has been up at 3, 4 in the morning and watching them go, and then I see him during the day. So he's conveyed that to me, and then I see him. Yeah, there's a pit bull that I think lives down somewhere. I don't know where, but it seems to frequent that area. And they did it several times, and then now they just kind of walk through. It's been on leash recently, but yeah, they use our yard quite often.
right, thank you.
All right. You're
I'm good.
very good. So we will now adjourn to executive session, and we'll come back to you shortly.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we are back on the record for Appeal 1867, and after discussion, we are prepared to vote. Mr. Conti, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of granting the variance.
All right, Mr. Rother, how do you vote?
I vote to deny.
And I also vote to deny. So with that, you will get a formal denial from the municipality, and then proceed from there. So with that, we are closed for 1867.
Can I ask questions?
You'll get a formal notice, like, that has the explanations written down on it. So, well, right now, we're going to move on to 1868.
I put a lot of time and effort into this, I believe, but
You will get a formal written explanation.
I'd like to talk about it.
I understand that.
Until after the hearing's over.
Right. So with that, we're closed for 1867, and we will prep for 1868. Right, you ready? You ready? Very good. All right. This is the Mount Lebanon Zoning Hearing Board, March 20, 2025. The time and place for appeal number 1868 by Lindy and Jeff Becker at 37 Mount Lebanon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15228. We have in our possession a variety of items that I will go through. But before we do that, I will ask anyone offering testimony for this appeal to stand and be sworn in by the reporter. All right, very good. I will just cover what we have, and then you can come forward and speak with us. In our possession, we have our cover sheet describing the property. We have a copy of the legal posting from February 27th and March 6th. We have the zoning hearing notice to property owners, and then another copy of the advertisement that was posted. We have the application. I want to note the zoning district at R1. We have a written statement from the Beckers, titled Justification for Request, several pages. We have a survey dated 1968 from Freeman L. Russell, Russell. And then we have a series of drawings titled Becker Residence Addition and Renovation Construction Documents dated August 31, 2024. Looks like these were prepared by Wilson Architecture Design, LLC. There's multiple pages associated with that with various renderings of the proposed design. We also have 4 color photographs taken and provided by the municipality. So, and are you Mr. Becker? All right, please come forward, introduce yourself, and state your reason why you believe the appeal should be granted.
Let me begin by thanking everybody for taking time to consider our variance request. My name is Jeff Becker. My wife Lindy and I own 37 Mount Lebanon Boulevard. She cannot be here tonight. She's with our daughters. We have 2 young daughters. Abigail is 12 and a 7th grader at Mellon, and Emily is 9 and a 4th grader at Foster Elementary. We are requesting a 2.83-foot variance for an addition on the back of our home. We, during COVID, had put an addition on one side of our house. My wife works for American Eagle Outfitters and pretty much works from home 4 days a week, so we put a home office on one side of the house. And now we are requesting to do an addition on the other side, identical to that first addition, to extend our kitchen, make our kitchen larger, and add a first floor bathroom. Due to the nature of our lot and the shape of it, the required 15 feet aggregate between both sides cannot be achieved to be able to add that addition. So we will be 2.83 feet shy of that need. As a result of this variance request, it has been posted in our yard and letters have been sent out to our neighbors. We have spoken to both neighbors on each side of our house. So if you look at our home, both, and they are both supportive of the addition. We've also, my wife walks our daughter to Foster every morning, and she's seen 2 other neighbors who have come up and mentioned that they received notices, and they are also supportive. I do apologize, I should have brought letters from them ahead of time, but I, as was just sworn in, am telling you the truth that both are supportive of that request. So I'm happy to answer any questions about, what we're looking to do. If you do look at the survey of our lot, it is kind of a uniquely shaped lot where it gets narrower as the lot goes back. And when our house was originally built, we purchased it about 15 years ago, but it was built a little bit further back in the lot plan than the building line. That is kind of creating this, this variance request for us. We have looked at different designs to try to alleviate this 2.83-foot request. But to achieve what we're trying to do with the addition of the kitchen and putting a bathroom in, it, it is unavoidable.
All right, we do have the 5 requirements needed to grant a variance, and I know you touched on that on your justification for request. Can you go over those for us, please?
In terms of, just reading, would you like me to read them off, please, sir?
You can read it if that's easiest for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the lot, the hardship is the lot and the size and shape of the lot itself. At this particular lot, at the front of the building, there's a width of 59 feet. At the rear property line, there's only 49 feet. So you can see that we don't have a lot that runs parallel. It gets smaller as the lot goes back. When the house was originally built, it was built a little bit further back. The left side of the front is 6.82 feet. The right side is 7.45 for a total of 14 feet.
Sorry, can you slow down just a little bit?
Oh, I apologize. I'm
That's all
sorry.
right, thank you.
All right. Also, the home does not set parallel to either side of the line when it was built. The proposed addition on the left side of the home where the lot is greater at the back than the front. So by adding the addition to the left side, we do not make the side yard smaller, we actually make it greater. So we're actually not infringing any further on the left side if you look at the way our house is laid out.
I'm sorry, can you explain what you mean by making it greater?
So the proposed addition on the left side of the home where the lot is greater at the back than the front. So by adding the addition to the left side, we do not make the side lot any smaller. We actually make it greater because the way the house is positioned, the way it's angled, the side lot as the addition will go back will be larger at the end of the 14 feet of the addition. Due to the circumstances and conditions outlined in point 1, there's no way for the property to be developed in strict conformity to the zoning requirements, hence the request for the variance. In order to create our kitchen and mudroom and bathroom, we are going 14 feet back with additional rear living space, but the aggregate total between the left and right side will be under the 15 feet requirement for Mount Lebanon zoning.
All right, Mr. Conti, do you have questions?
I do not, no.
Mr. Rother, do you have a question?
I do. So at the current existing backside of your house, do you know approximately how wide your lot is at that point?
When you say at the back portion of our like where we want the proposed addition to be?
That was going to be my next question. So what I'm looking for is, I mean, with kind of the front, your front yard is 65 feet wide. The rear lot line is 49 feet wide, so it's not a rectangle.
Nope.
So that means at the existing, at the current spot of your existing house in the back, the width of your lot is somewhere in between 65 and 49 feet.
Correct.
So do you, kind of what I'm asking for is, do you know the approximate distance at the current point of your existing house, and then kind of where that would also be at the back of your proposed addition?
I do not know that right now. I don't have those exact. Greg, do we have those exact? I apologize for asking.
It looks to be, you have the house at 44.8 wide with a side yard of 7 and a side yard of 5. So that looks like about 56 feet, right? Across the back of the existing house. Is that correct?
I think that if I look at this survey here, I think that math would be correct.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
So, along with Mr. Rother's comment about the width at that point, and maybe this is a direction, I don't know. So is the area that you're wanting to build into, is it an issue just say at the back corner, or is it an issue for the entire length of the proposed addition?
Just the back corner. So the current place where we want to add to the addition is currently a stone paver patio that we use. We're not extending anywhere beyond that. So we are basically just putting a structure right on an existing patio that we use. So there's a planter to the left of it that will actually go right in line with that. And kind of, as you can see from the survey, just go straight back. So right now, we're literally just going to be removing the surface patio that exists there and be putting a structure on top of it.
So with and I was hearing Mr. Conti speaking with Mr. Sharver, with the 44 is the width of the house, 7 and 5. And we know that kind of on the existing house.
Yeah, it's 56 or 57 feet.
Right, so at that point, it's still under the 15. Is that the 15-foot requirement? Because we have 7 on one side, 5 on the other, so that's 12. Am I,
Are you asking me?
I'm not sure who I'm asking. Sure.
So if you look at the survey, again, this was done in
1969.
1968.
Right,
It looks like that front left offset is 6.82 feet, and the right offset is 7.43 feet. So if you just do a quick calculation, the front setback combination plus 7.43, so you have a total of 14.25 feet front combined offset. And then the back, I can't read the right side, but I believe the left side is 7.05 plus it's 5 something.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sarver, to interrupt you. We're already underneath the 15 feet because of this shape, the way they positioned our home on the lot line. So the house was actually built underneath the 15-foot requirement, if you look at it. So by adding that, we're not creating more what's the right word I'm looking for? We're not going more into, we're not extending we're not increasing how much we're under the 15 feet, is what I'm trying to get at. We're just basically extending the side of our house on the way it's angled.
So it was non-conforming at the
Before.
front and non-conforming at the back when the original house was built.
Correct.
Is that right?
Without knowing what the offsets were required when it was built,
Yeah,
but it's non-conforming today.
yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, and then when you added your addition in 2020, I believe,
COVID, correct.
right? And I assume you had the proper permits for that?
Yes.
And so at the time, that would have been okay because you were still at least 5 feet? Because if I'm not mistaken, there was no variance issued for this in the past, Mr. Sarver?
Correct. So if you look at the existing one-story addition on the survey on the right side,
Yes,
that rear corner offset, so as it went back into the property, it got closer to the property line. That offset was 5 feet. So they had a surveyor stake that out when it was built, and that rear corner is exactly 5 feet from that side property line. So being that the ordinance requires a 15-foot combined side yard, anything built to the left of that would have to be the remainder 10 feet. So whenever it was built, if you look to the left of that one-story addition that was built, there's way more than 10 feet there. There's 16 and a half, 14 and a half. So you're 15, yeah, plus the 7. So you had plenty of room, so it was compliant the way it was built because it didn't go less than 5 feet from the side, right side property line.
I understand.
And it had a combined total of 15, more than 15.
So prior to this one-story addition from 2020, that rear corner of the house on that side would have been likely greater than 5 feet. We can't read the writing very well, but we believe it is greater than 5 feet at some point,
I would assume it's greater than 5 feet.
just based on geometry.
Correct, because again, the front being 7.43 and the back being 5 point something. For it to go back even with the side property line for that short distance and be 5 feet at the rear, either it was kicked in slightly from the side of the house or that rear offset allowed that 5-foot dimension at the rear of the addition from 2020?
2020, correct.
But if we don't know that exact figure just based on this. I suppose we could do math, but it's difficult to see on this old
I
survey.
just know whenever we looked at this initially, we pulled out the permit from 2020. And it was noted on there to have that line surveyed so that there would be no encroachment of that 5-foot setback.
Sure. And do you know the dimensions of that 2020 addition? Is that 14 by 14 or approximately 14 feet long?
Yes. The proposed addition that we're requesting will match the original one in terms of roof shape and aesthetic look on the outside, with a overhang between the two additions for some outdoor living space.
All right, so here's my thoughts, and I hope you can help me through this. When you added the addition, it created an issue because as you grew, as you came all the way down to the 5-foot marker, now you're faced with the issue of having to total your 5 plus 10 equals 15. Had you not added that addition, you could do what you're planning to do now without a variance. Is that correct?
Correct. Mr. Clerk, I should add one thing. When we added that addition, if you went back and looked at previous pictures of the house, that was that first floor addition, the office in 2020, was a 3-season room that was existing there already. It had a concrete slab on it. We leveled that and made it a year-round room. And all we did when we built that out to make it an office space was follow the property line on the right-hand side. We didn't take it any further back. We actually extended the size of the room into our lot. So if you're looking at our lot, we kept the side as it was, we kept the distance in the back, and then we went in to the left a little bit to increase the size for a space. So although it was an addition, it was actually an existing 3-season room that we didn't use, and then we wanted to convert into an office.
And then, Mr. Sharver, conversion of a 3-season room to a 4-season room like this, does that have any impact on the way that the lines would be held between the 5-foot setbacks? It would still have the 5-foot setback, even if it was a 3-season room versus a 4-season room?
Correct. Anything attached to if you look at the definition of an accessory structure, the last section of that definition says that if any part of a detached structure is attached to the primary structure physically, then it becomes part of the primary structure.
Okay.
So anything that would have been attached to the dwelling would have been part of the dwelling, and therefore the minimum side setback would be 5 feet.
All right, very good, thank you. All right. Mr. Conti, did you have other questions?
I do not.
Mr. Rother, do you have other questions?
I do not.
All right, if you'll sit down for a moment, we're going to speak with Mr. Rother. Sorry, you're Mr. Rother, with Mr. Sharver. Mr. Sharver, please state the municipality's point of view.
The municipality's position is, under the ordinance, being the fact that this is a side yard variance, it's also a variance of the non-conforming section of the ordinance. Forgive me while I look this up real quick. Section 903.4. And if you go to 903.4, it talks about expansion or extension of a non-conforming building or structure. So again, we discussed why it's non-conforming today as far as both the front and both the rear existing offsets at the original house were non-conforming because they don't total a 15-foot side yard. They meet the 5-foot minimum, but they don't meet the 15-foot combined. So if you look at 903.4.1, it says a non-conforming building or structure may not be expanded, extended, or increased in size in any manner except pursuant to a variance obtained by from the zoning hearing board in accordance with the applicable laws and ordinances and such reasonable conditions and safeguards as may be imposed by the zoning hearing board. And then if you look at 903.4.2, it says for dwellings, if the reason for the existing nonconforming consists of only a dimensional nonconformity of required yards, which is the case here, then expansion may occur without a variance if such expansions, extensions, or other increase in size in itself does not, 1, increase the dimensional nonconformity. So by them going further from the property line, they're not decreasing the nonconformity on the left side of the property. But 2, extend into a new area, and an addition or expansion must conform with all applicable ordinances and laws, provided that there shall not be a reduction in the total side yard requirement for new construction. So that those 2 sections basically say that you can add out the back with a minimum of 5, but you have to have 10 on the other side. So you have to apply for a variance if you can't maintain that total combined 15-foot side yard. Hence, the reason for them applying for the variance tonight, and being here. So I calculated based on the width of the house and the existing offsets, roughly, that that offset on that side, if they go straight back with the left side of the house, would be 7.17 feet on the left rear of the addition. And since they have an existing 5 feet on the right side addition from 2020, that would give them a total combined side yard of 12.17 feet. Therefore, they're asking for a variance of 2.83 feet from the total combined 15-foot offset.
Thank you. And did the commission offer any opinion?
Other than me being here to uphold the ordinance.
Certainly, thank you. Mr. Conti, do you have questions for Mr. Sharber?
I do not.
And Mr. Rother, do you have questions for Mr. Sharber?
I do not.
And then I want to clarify what I had just said insofar as the 2020 edition did not change any, because there was an existing three-season structure, it did not change any of the moving, what's the word I'm looking for? Moving the lines around, moving the requirements, the setback.
The Rollins, there would be no relevant granting of any type of an exception because of a previous three-season room. So because it was a new addition, it would have to maintain that minimum of 5. And because it was so close based on the 1968 survey, that's why we put a note on the plan from 2020 that survey should be, that line should be surveyed so that they don't encroach that 5-foot minimum.
Sure. I think what I'm asking is, when you went from the 3, we know that we don't want to be closer than 5 feet. When we went from the 3-season room to the 4-season room, did it say reduce that from 6 feet to 5 feet? Did it make any movement towards that property line, or is it?
I can't answer that because I don't have a survey from that 2020 time period.
Understand, okay, very good.
So I don't know where the existing sunroom sat in relationship to the side property line.
I understand, because at the time, we were only concerned about just not going further than 5 feet, and then
Because they
that
had
was,
more than 10 on the left side.
right, okay,
Of the new construction.
all right, very good. All right. All right, is there anyone here to speak on this matter? And I don't see anyone online.
Do you believe so? There is none.
I guess I do have a question for Mr. Becker. So I know you wanted to, if you can come forward, please. I know you wanted to expand to match what you're already doing. Is there a way to not bring it in 3 feet and then you're fully in compliance?
I mean, there's obviously, we can certainly consider all options. I think from an aesthetic standpoint, the idea was just to continue the left side of the house straight back. Otherwise, it would be, we would take it straight back and then we would indent it. The other problem with that is this addition will also add the first floor bathroom, which we don't have on the house currently, half bath, I'm sorry. And that would probably eliminate the ability to put that first floor bathroom into the project. We looked at locating the first floor bathroom in other places on the floor plan of the first floor, going into our living room space, and it just didn't make sense in terms of the position of a bathroom, of where we want to put it. I believe you guys have architectural drawings of that. So the idea was to be able to have a mudroom when you come in from the back of the house, which we currently don't have. We also have a golden retriever that it'd be nice to be able to have her come to that area first before she comes into the new kitchen. And then have a bathroom, as you can see in the plans, before you come into our kitchen and our finished space. So that's kind of why losing the 2 or 3 feet would be significant in terms of encroaching upon some of the goals that we're trying to achieve with this addition.
So the current between the 2020 edition and this proposed edition is a patio, and that would still be there?
Yes, so we, as I had mentioned, we currently have a two-tier patio. The existing patio right outside the back of our house, and there's a couple steps up onto another patio. We will significantly reduce the size of the first-tier patio with this addition, but maintain the space between the 2020 edition and this one with an overhead roof, where we'll have a living space where we'll sit, and then we will continue to have that second-tier patio up behind it.
Right. I think my question then is, I know this is your preference to put the addition where it is, but why don't you just put it where the patio is, and then you don't need the variance?
I'm sorry.
So move the entire addition to where that patio is that we were just talking about.
Oh, you mean put it right next to the office?
Yep, put it right next to the 2020 edition and just have one.
One big space.
Yes.
I think Mr. Clark, I think the idea behind that was, my wife, as I mentioned, works from home. And if you looked at our 2020 edition, the side of the 2020 edition that faces our neighbors is a solid wall where we have desks. There's actually two desks. I have a desk there as well. And then on the back portion of the house, the addition that faces our backyard, are windows. And on the interior side are windows. And I think my wife Lindy would like to have some natural light in there. So that was the reason of not putting it right next to the office, was she could sit there and work and then look back out on our patio. When the girls are home or in the summer, she can see what's going on. Whereas if we put that where you suggested, she would now just have that one window in the back, and she would not be able to have as much natural light and be able to see what would be going on in our backyard.
I do have a question then. Your floor plan shows a long L-shaped kitchen countertop and a kitchen island.
Correct.
In going into the new space. Is that part of your plan? I mean, is that the way you are planning to use this space?
Yes.
With that long L counter and that?
May I approach to?
Yeah. I just wondered if that represents what you're planning on doing.
Yes, so this space here would be the kitchen.
Yeah.
And this would be a walkway back in here with a sliding glass door.
Okay.
Yes.
Just for the record, he was looking at sheet A 1.1, detail 1.
Mr. Conley, did you have other questions? Did you have other?
I don't.
All right, very good. The reason I bring up the moving is when we look at the requirements, requirement 2 says that there's, and I'll quote it, that because of the physical conditions, that there's no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity with the provisions of the zoning ordinance, and that the authorization of a variance is therefore necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I think that you can put the addition in this patio space. That would be in strict conformity, no variance would be needed. And even if you did that, you'd still have reasonable use of the property. You'd be able to do exactly what you want. It's just moved over. So can you help with that?
It's actually impossible for me to disagree with that statement. I mean, because we could. I think the other concern, besides the natural light for my wife to be able to see out there, is if we moved that space, there is a fireplace and chimney that exists right in that middle space that we would be building around. And I think there's some concerns about that on our end as well. So if you look at the back of our home, in our existing structure, there is a fireplace right there that now we would be building around and bringing into the structure of our house. So that was something that was not, something that my wife Lindy and I really didn't want to have, was that fireplace right in our
Can you
home.
point out the fireplace?
Yes.
Because it's not properly indicated there.
So, is it okay to do it this way? Sure. So, the fireplace is right here. So this is our living room and that's a
That's
fireplace.
an interior
It
fireplace.
is an interior fireplace.
Mr. Sharp, are there restrictions against building around an interior fireplace in the manner we're describing?
There's clearances as far as combustible construction against a fireplace or chimney, I should say, in the fact that if it's interior, you have to have a 2-inch clearance from combustibles to the actual firebox and chimney. If the chimney or fireplace is on the exterior side of the framing, then it's a 1-inch clearance.
So with the 1-inch clearance, they would be able to do this then? Is that my understanding?
That clearance is just the clearance of combustible framing to the actual fireplace structure.
I understand.
So in other words, most typical construction is that the framing is held that distance away from the actual fireplace structure, and then the siding will cover that gap up, or it's flashed so that that gap is covered. So you don't have a hole that's 2 inches wide, you know, through the side of the chimney. It's just that it's for clearance of combustibles.
So if they were to completely build in that spot, so, I mean, we're not talking an extension, we're basically, it's adding that room where that patio stands now. As long as they're framing it properly, they could do that without it being an issue with being too close to the fire chamber.
Correct.
Okay. All right, very good. Mr. Conti, do you have other questions?
No.
And Mr. Rother, do you have other questions?
I do not.
And seeing that no one is going to speak?
There is somebody online, so if they have
Oh, sorry.
any questions or concerns, that just raise your hand, and then we would know.
Anyone online? You can come forward. Please state your name, and you'll need to be sworn in by the reporter as well, so. All right.
The only point that I wanted to make. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg Al. Lot Lebanon is 148 Lebanon Avenue. EM, correct. The only point I wanted to make is no matter what he builds, he's under the 15-foot requirement. The front of the house is under the 15-foot requirement. The back of the house existing is already behind the 15-foot requirement. So if it's 5 at the back corner and 7 at the other back corner, it is 12 feet. It's not going to change. It's always been, and it always will be, less than the 15 feet. We're not going less than the 5 feet. We are actually getting greater than what the existing condition is of 5 and 7.09 up to 5 plus 7.31, if I remember correct. That was the only point I wanted to make.
All right, with that, we will go into executive session, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are back on the record for appeal number 1868. After having discussed the matter, we are prepared to vote. Mr. Conti, how do you?
Can I just,
So sorry?
Can I just ask, make sure that nobody raises
Yeah.
their hand?
Oh, sorry, before I proceed, we will, we see someone else has joined online, and if you wish to speak, please do so now, by raising your hand. Yep. Okay. Seeing nothing, we will go ahead and proceed to vote. Mr. Conti, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of granting the variance.
Mr. Rother, how do you vote?
I vote to deny.
And I also vote to deny. So with that, you will receive a written denial within the next 30 days. And with that, matter 1868 is closed. All right. Thank you, everyone. I can write both of them if you want. Is that good? So, Rodney, I'm going to write both of them. So.